Hello, welcome to Rupa's online tutorials. Today I'm going to discuss some chapters of your second PU portions, that is from chapter 8 to chapter 13. So I've prepared some worksheets here and all the important questions which has been come from the second PU board exam over the years. I've just collected them and have put it here. All the important questions which has been come from the second PU board exam. Okay, so I have put over just selected them and have put it here. So we will discuss these questions now. I would like you all to listen to them carefully, and then also if you have any doubts regarding this, please put in the comment box below so that we can clarify these doubts. So as I was actually doing the model paper yesterday, these questions I thought I will just discuss with you if you have any doubts regarding these questions. The 5-mark questions in function overloading which has been asked over the years is discuss overloaded functions with syntax and example. So then you need to write the definition for overloaded functions, write its syntax, and then also write yes. So we can also discuss some of these important questions, and if you have any doubts, please put in a comment section as I'm saying below. So the first question is discuss overloaded functions with syntax and example. But this year, as we know that it's a reduced syllabus and there will be much more marks coming from function overloading. This last year it was only 5 marks, but this year around 8 marks you will be getting from this chapter, function overloading. So the first important question here, which is come in your model paper also, is what is function overloading? So if those who are watching now, if you know the answer, please you can put it in the comment box below. You can type it in your comment box below. Yes, what is function overloading? This question has not been typed here, but you can give me the answer if anyone knows. Yes. Yes. What is function overloading? The answer is a function having one or two or more functions having the same name but differ in the number and type of arguments is known as function overloading. Okay, so the next question here that we have is with syntax and example they have given. So in the example, make sure that you keep the function name same. That is very important, that you need to keep the function name same, because if the function name is not same, then it is not going to be a concept of function overloading. So please be sure that you keep the function name same when you are writing the example for function overloading. Just give me a second. Okay, The next important thing, so for example, if I'm going to write an example for function overloading, I can give any example, but only thing I need to remember is I need to keep the function name same. For example, if I'm going to just write, if I want to find the sum of two numbers, so I can just write int a, int b, okay, and I can have one more function like this. I can just say the I should be in small letter because it's C++ is case sensitive. So I can just say in here I can just say float sum, okay, and then here I can just put float A, comma float B, comma float C. So if you observe this particular definition of function overloading, we say that function overloading is two or more functions having the same name but differ in the number and type of arguments. So if you observe these two functions here, okay, these two functions, whatever functions, okay, so this part of the program, this part of the code, here sum and sum, the function name is same, and the number and type, the number or the type of arguments are different. For example, here we have two integer values, here we have three float values, and the type, the number here is, there are two integer values here, and here three float values. Type is always your data type. So if you can see here we have two int and three floats. So this is how we have to think when we are doing the function overloading programs. So here if they've asked you to write with the programming example, for example, here it is told that explain with the programming example, then you have to see that the examples that you're going to give. I mean, it is something like this. You start with hash include iostream.h, give a class name, write the function, and then in A and B you can say return A plus B, and in float you can say return A plus B plus C, and then your program is done. Any other doubts, anything else you all have? I would like you all to put it on the chat box below. Yes, the next question that we have is explain inline function with syntax and an example. So inline function is a short function, okay, where the compiler is just going to replace the function statement and the function is called. So that's the definition of inline function. So whenever we write an example for this, you make sure that you use the keyword inline here, okay. So for example, the example that's given in your textbook is inline int cube into int a. So there, that keyword inline is very important when you give the example. Many of the students, they forget that word inline, they learn the whole program and then they don't write that word inline at all. So you should be very sure that when this word inline is being used there, this keyword is being used, you have to use that keyword in your programming example. And always when it is told with the example, you need to give the complete example, okay. Don't need to complicate the programs, keep it as simple as possible, the examples, and then you can just take in this, okay. The next question is explain friend function and the characteristics. Can anyone type on the box? What is it? What is friend function? Yes, what is friend function? Yes, all of us have friends. So friend functions, what is it? What is friend function? Friend function is nothing but it's a non-member function. Non-member function means a friend function does not belong to that class. Okay, it does not belong to that class, but it can access the private and protected members of the class. Okay, this example I've been giving to my students, saying that like you have a computer at home, it is for you and your family members. So if your friends come, if they are close friends, you allow them also to use your computer, you work with them on your projects and things like that. So you use that, I mean you allow them to use the computer. So there will be some functions which are outside the class, but they are not members of that particular class. So when we declare that particular function as, when we use the keyword friend before them, then that particular function can use the members of the class. Okay, what are the characteristics mainly? You use the keyword friend there, and it's a non-member function, and you do not use the object of the class to call the friend function. So in normal functions we say ob dot the function name. Here we don't do that, we directly call the function. Okay, so that is some of the characteristics that you need to remember. And as I told you already, what is meant by function overloading, it is already that is already been discussed here, the first one what I had showed you here. Okay, so quickly we'll go to the next chapter, constructors and destructors. So this is also a very important chapter when you see in your board exam. So these questions, this was prepared actually based on last year's syllabus, like 2 marks, 5 marks. Here this year this may change, I mean these marks may change, so please don't go through these things, but yes, these questions are important questions from these chapters. So what is a constructor? Give an example. So whenever this question comes, what is a constructor, please write constructor is a member function. Okay, constructor is a member function whose name is as same name as the class name, and it has used to initialize the objects of the class. So whenever we say this word, see, when you are learning a definition, it's very important that you understand the definition when you are writing the example. So I am saying constructor is a member function. So when it is going to be a function, you need to put the parenthesis, the 2 brackets, and it has the same name as the class name. So for example, if I have a class student, okay, so the name of the class is student, and the constructor name also will be student, and it has no return data type. Return data type means what? Before the function we write void sum, int sum, okay, or void area, int area. So all these words, these keywords, that is void, int, all these data types which we use before the function should not be used in the constructor. Please remember. So if I have a class student, then the constructor name is student with 2 brackets, okay, 2 parentheses. Yes, I can just type in here and show you that. So if I have, for example, class student, okay, C should be in small letter because in C++ all the keywords are in small letters. Okay, and here what will be my constructor? It is going to be student. So there are some rules for constructor. What are they? They will be same name as the class name. Yes, and it has no return data type, and it has to be declared in the public section. That's the reason I am writing the example like this. I write class student, open the brackets, and then I'm going to say public, and here I'm going to write the name of this like this, student, okay, and then I put a bracket. And now you observe here, I don't write here void student. Okay, I cannot write void student, it is wrong because constructor will not have a return data type. Okay, and since it's a function, I need to put these 2 parentheses, and then after the parentheses I open the braces like this. So here I have not declared any variables here, so I can just say I can give one variable here. Okay, I can just say int roll number. Yes, so here I can just go here, and I can just write it less. Int roll number, okay, and then I have public student, and then I say here roll number is equal to Okay, so roll number is equal to 5, and then I close these braces here. Okay, so this is one very simple example for constructors, and for all through this chapter constructors, I can just give you one program which you learn and you will be able to get all the good marks from here. Yes, so here I have class student. In private I have declared a variable int roll number, and in public this is a constructor. So what is a constructor? You please remember the definition. It's a member function which has the same name as the class name. So if you observe here, what is the class name that I'm having here? Student, isn't it? So this is student, and if you see the constructor name, this is also, it is also going to be student. So when we learn these definitions, we should be able to know this. Yes. Yes, I have a lot of here, yes, people answering the questions. Yes. Good evening to all of you here. Sorry I couldn't respond because I was not able to see my chat box till now. So as I was talking about constructor overloading, constructor and destructor chapters, do you have any doubts regarding this? Any particular doubts? Please post it here. Please post it in the group. We can discuss about that also. Yes, hello Arogya, hello Gagan. Yes, hello Geeta, correct answer you put in. Hello Kiran. Yes, Harshita, Meghana. Yes, a very good evening to all of you. Could you please, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Yes, good evening Darshan. Any doubts you all have? Any specific doubts related to your chapters? You can please put it on to these chapters which are put on the screen. Okay, you asked about explicit call and implicit call. See, explicit call is when I'm going to create an object of this class. Okay, so that is like here you can see, can you see the screen? On the screen now, when I'm going to put a void main, okay, there are three ways in which you can invoke the constructors. Okay, one is explicit, one is implicit, and another one is when you have only one value in your you have only one value you have, that is only one data member. When you have only one data member, you can directly assign the value to it. So for example, here we have roll number. So directly when I create the object itself, I can assign a value to that constructor. So that is when you are having assigning it this. Okay. So implicit means internally we are calling the value for the constructor. So here for example, when I say student S, so this actually mainly it is used when you are using the parameterized constructor. So when I say student S here, you can see this is a default constructor or a non-parameterized constructor, that is constructor without parameters. Now if I am going to put a parameter here, let me say int r here, okay, and here I am going to assign the value of r here, okay, and here when I create this object, and to this directly I am passing some value, let me say I am passing this value 10 here. So this 10 is going to be copied to r. So this is called as invoking the constructor implicitly. That is when I am creating the object itself, I am giving the value for this. So this is called as implicit call. Okay. Explicit call is when you are going to first create the constructor. Okay, when you are going to say that when you are creating the object, you will say student S1, and then you are saying S1 of S1 is equal to 10. So when you do like that, that is explicit. That is invoking the constructor explicitly. Okay. Yes. Did you understand, Darshan? Any other doubts? See, the word implicit here means internal. That is, when I am doing it directly, I am giving the value to the in the object. That is implicit call. Okay. In explicit call, what happens? I create the object and then I assign the value. For example, I will write here student S1, okay, is equal to, yes, the name of the object, that is S1, and in bracket I write 10. Yes, so here I write student S1, that is, I've created an object, and then I write S1, and in bracket I am going to put this 10. So this is explicit call. Okay, this is important in your board exam also. I mean, invoking the constructor is an important question. Okay, so this is implicit call. Yes, so implicit call is when you create the object, directly give the value to that object. It's implicit call. And if you're going to first create the object and then pass the argument to it, that is explicit call. Yes. Yes. Yes, Sai Kiran, hello. Yes, how are you? I'm fine, I'm fine. Yes, someone has asked me what is a destructor. Yes, so destructor, just remember it's the opposite of constructor. I told you constructor is a member function which has the same name as the class name, and it is used to initialize the objects of the class. See, if you have observed in C++, we never write it like this. We never say, as we were doing in void main, we never say that there's a lot of disturbance. Okay, I never say int roll number is equal to 10. I never do this initialization in a class. Okay, so if I want to initialize this particular thing, I need to do it somewhere. So for that, the C++ provides the feature of constructors. Okay, it provides, so when I say just to initialize the objects of the class, means the data members has to be initialized. So that has to be done through the constructor only. Yes, so here someone has asked me what is a destructor. Dilip, okay. Hi, hello Dilip. Yes, see, a destructor, okay, for this also you need to say it's a member function. It has the same name as the class name, and it is used to destroy the objects of the class. So what I mean by saying destroy the objects of the class, I am deallocating the memory space. So how do I define the destructor? I say it has the same name as the class name. So how do I write the same name as the class name? It will also be student. Now how do I know which is a constructor and which is a destructor? For that there should be some way in which I know that which is a constructor and which is a destructor. So for that purpose we use a tilde symbol. Okay, so in your keyboard your tilde symbol is next to the 1, okay, on your keyboard. So we use this particular symbol, student, okay, and it's a function. So because if it's a function, you need to put these two brackets. Again, don't write anything inside the destructor. Okay, maybe you can just write a CO statement saying calling the destructor, because it is going to automatically destroy that object which you have created. One thing you need to remember with the destructor is, please write the destructor only after you have written the constructor. You cannot write it before that. Okay, because destructor is called before the constructor is created. That doesn't make sense, isn't it? Any other doubts you all have? The Skyway is big fan. Okay. Okay. You need the syntax and example of default constructor. See, default constructor, the definition is constructor with no arguments or zero arguments is known as default constructor. So what I mean by default values, for example, int, okay, int, the default value is 0. Char, it is a null character. Float, it is 0.0. Okay, so those are all the default constructors. Yes, so now again we have to remember it will have the same name as the class name. So here is student, and it has no arguments. That means in this bracket I am not going to write anything. Okay, and then I just put like this. So this is a default constructor. Okay, this is a default constructor, and this is an example for parameterized constructor. Okay, so one example you can just learn this whole chapter, and then you get the full marks. Okay, and this is an example for, this is a destructor, and if they ask you what is constructor overloading, you can give the same example, because what is constructor overloading? Constructor with different types of, when you have different types of constructor in the same class, then it is called as constructor overloading. So if you see here, we are having a constructor with no arguments, a constructor with one argument. So there are different types of constructors. Yes, so that is how we define a constructor overloading. Yes. Is there any other questions in this chapter? Okay. What's the syntax for default constructor? See, default constructor, what is the syntax? You can just write here the same thing. Class name, see, there are two ways. See, I can just write here. I'll just tell you. Class name, put the two brackets here, and then you have it like this. That's it. This is the default construct, isn't it? For class name and two brackets. So this is actually your default constructor's syntax. Yes, this is the syntax for default constructor. But if you're going to define this outside the class, then you need to use the scope resolution operator. You have to say class name, colon, class name, put two brackets, and then write the braces what we wrote now. Yes, so either way it is correct. Any other doubts you all have regarding this? No? Any doubts in this chapter? Okay. So as I was telling you, copy constructor is nothing but when you have one constructor and for example here I am having already this constructor. If you observe, let me create one more constructor here. Okay. Yes, I'll create here one more constructor, student S2, and then I write it is equal to S1. So this is called copy constructor. That is, I'm just copying one object into another object. So that is your copy constructor. Okay, that is the copy constructor. Yes. Okay, good. I don't think any other doubts is there. In any other chapter. So this particular one program, if you all learn for constructors, this will do for all your examples for this lesson. Yes, and this is one important question, rules for writing a constructor function, and rules for writing a destructor is also given in the model paper this year. You need to learn that also. Again, the same thing, it is used to destroy the objects. It has got the same name as the class name, and it is preceded by a tilde symbol. A tilde symbol is your ulta S, that's what I tell in my class. Okay, it's a tilde symbol, it's preceded by a tilde symbol, and then it does not have any arguments in it. Okay, it does not have any arguments, and it has to be declared after the constructor is being declared. So these are some of the definitions of this. I think yes, I have done with this particular session. I was planning to do all the 5 chapters to do it, but is there any doubts? If there are any doubts, please put it in the chat box. Otherwise, I will be ending this session now. Yes, do you have any doubts? Those who are there online, do you have any doubts? We can continue with the next set of questions in my next live session, in the next streaming. Any doubts regarding anything? Yes, I think all are very clear about all these 2 chapters. Anyhow, tomorrow we'll continue with chapter 10 and 11. We can discuss some more questions. If you have any doubts regarding any of these chapters, please post in the chat box so that I can answer it now. Okay, I think it is done. Yes. Anyhow, it was nice. Hope so I cleared all your doubts. We'll continue with this live stream. And if you have any doubts or anything regarding this, please what's the difference between private and public? Okay. Yes, for all same example. Yes, Arogya, it's same example for all. For all same example, you can just learn. So because everything, this concept, everything has been covered, isn't it? This is a constructor with no arguments. This is a parameterized constructor. This is a destructor, and this is all the types of calls. So you can just learn this one example for this chapter. That's more than enough. Yes, and IF stream and OF stream. See, I stands for input, F is file. So input stream and output stream. What is the difference? Input is what? When you want to take data from somewhere. That is input stream. And output is when you want to write the data onto the screen. So that is output stream. It's a direct question, IF stream and OF stream. Okay. Difference between private, public. Okay, there are 3 access specifiers. Okay, C++ provides 3 access specifiers. See, it's one of the principles of OOPS. Yes, which is not found in your procedure-oriented programming. So these 3 keywords, that is private, public, and protected, they will tell you that how much data can be accessed in your class. Okay, so when I declare a variable as a private, for example, here I have declared this variable as a private, that means this roll number, okay, this data member is accessible only within this class. So if I use this roll number in another class, let me say class marks, it will say that this doesn't exist, it is not there. Okay, so that's what the private variable does. It protects the data within that class. Yes, so when they ask you what is private, you should say private is a keyword or access specifier which is used, which can access the members of that class only. That is private. Public means it can access the members of that class as well as other classes. So how it is divided, like other classes are there also you will be able to access this particular data. That is, instead of private, if I had written public and then I had written int roll number, and if I have one more class, say marks, there also I can use this roll number. Okay, because that access is given to that particular variable. And what is protected? Protected, you should remember, this keyword is used in inheritance concepts. Okay, why? Because when I declare a variable as private, it will become only for that class. But in inheritance, you have both class and subclass. So that time you cannot use it as private. You have to use some other keyword. You cannot use as public. If you use public, then there is no use of class and subclass, it can be used everywhere. So we make that particular keyword as protected. So protected, when the keyword protected comes, you should say access is given for that class as well as its subclass. Okay, so in the exam you say private, it belongs only to members, can access only that class. Public, it can be access to that class and other classes. And protected, to that class, access is given to that class, to the class and its subclass. So what is the use of constructor? It is to initialize the objects of the class. I think I told you that. Yes, to initialize the objects of the class. Okay. Yes, thank you, Arugya. Any other doubts you all have? Any other doubts you all have? No? Anyhow, I think I have cleared all your doubts in these two chapters. The other chapters I would like to do, but running out of time at present. Yes, hope all of you had a dinner, and we'll get back. We'll get back to the sessions later. Yes. Okay, all the best. Do well in your exams. Hope you, most of the doubts were clear. And thank you for watching. We're signing off now.